Hobby watchdog IG account Card Porn came out with a very interesting story recently about card trimming.
Look! For Martinez to make it a 5-run inning and blow this game to pieces.
I'll be darned.
I wanted to take a look at it from a couple of different angles, talk through it. Stick around. Hello to all my sports card collectors, investors, all of my collectibles friends. It is another beautiful day in the neighborhood. I hope that you all are doing excellent out there. If you're new here and you're looking for sports card content pretty much almost daily, please hit that subscribe button, the big red button down below, along with the likes and the notifications and all of those buttons to help us reach the masses. We are trying to grow the channel. We are inching up to 15,000 subscribers. We're at 14,600 and change, and we've had a little bit of an uptick lately. So let's keep that momentum going. Do you recognize this guy in the Bentco salad commercial here on Amazon? That is our very own Brad, the comeback card investor. I know that he wishes that he was eating cake and not a salad, but here we are. He flashes up in these ads every now and again, and I have to share. On Off-Centered this week, we have got a great guest, Tim Getch, the owner of ComC. Excited to have Tim on. Brad and I met him out at the Mint Collective out in Las Vegas here a couple of months ago, and it was a lot of fun. Great guy. And ComC, it's just a great company. So we're going to talk with him. That's going to be Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern on Brad, the Comeback Card Investors YouTube channel. We talk a lot on the channel about the grading wars and the differences between each company, this company, that company, the different grades. And there's so many different things going on in the hobby and some of the strategies that are deployed by people. To me, I could never do them. And we're going to talk about one today that is a prime example, but it's very common. It's very common in the hobby. And I want to talk about it. I want to get your viewpoints as well in the comments, obviously. Today, we're going to talk about a story that Card Porn had recently on IG. You can check them out on IG. It's about a 2003 EX LeBron James Jambalaya insert, of course, very, very popular in a BGS 9. Great, very cool card. It's kind of that ovally Jambalaya card, popular whether you're looking at basketball cards, Marvel cards, etc. And so this particular card, it was in a BGS 9 holder. The owner of the card wanted to try to cross it over to PSA. Fairly popular strategy, you know, whether it be SGC, BGS, some of these other companies, people are trying to move them over into PSA grades because why? The resale value is higher, or maybe they just like PSA better. I don't know, but I think it's motivated by money. Call me crazy, but I think that it's motivated by money most of the time. And so the owner was trying to cross this BGS 9 over to PSA. So cracked it out, sent it to PSA. PSA comes back with it in an altered case. And so he's like, what the heck? You know, what the heck's going on here? So he cracks it, sends it back to BGS. He gets a BGS 9 again, back in a BGS holder, except the subgrade goes down for edges from a 9 to an 8. And so the owner's like, what the heck? I don't like that. So sends it back to PSA. PSA puts it in a 1 holder, a PSA 1, with evidence of trimming as being the reasoning. And so the guy's fed up and he's like, hey, I'm going to reach back out to my rep at BGS. BGS comes back with an email that says, hey, grading is subjective. Now, is grading subjective? Yeah, we talk about it on the channel all the time. It's a pretty obvious take. I mean, every company is going to have different qualifications they're looking at. There's not really uniformity to it. We always talk about how centering is very important. Surface, edges, corners. These are kind of the big four, if you will, that grading companies are looking at. But there's also eye appeal. There's a lot of different things going into it. And then if you're looking at vintage cards, they're going to be graded differently than ultra modern cards, non-sports stuff. Some cards are perforated, some are not. So many different variables and nuance to sports card grading. The point that Card Porn was trying to get across here, though, is trimming subjective, because the actual grading is, but they're saying that if there is trimming on a card, that should be objective. This is such a tricky one, though, because, and the reason why I think that it's tricky is because, obviously, if you know that a card is definitely trimmed, then yeah, if there's some consensus across companies, but there's not going to be consensus across companies all the time. And that's really tough. I mean, I remember too, there is a qualifier for PSA cards miscut. I believe it's PSA that's got the qualifier. MC or MS for just miscut. Miscut and a trim card. I mean, you could easily mistake something that's miscut in production at the factory for trimmed, vice versa, whatever. Unless you've got hard evidence that the card came from a known trimmer or something like that, that can be a really tricky game. I am very happy that I am not running a grading company, because I think there's just going to be just more and more scrutiny that comes with this product, as there should be, but especially with all the money that is poured into this. And this guy, obviously, I mean, these are high-end cards that people are trying to cross over. It's not as if these are $20 cards crossing over to $40, $50 cards. Does that happen? Sure. But there's a lot of 6-figure cards, 7-figure cards, where they're looking to move that from a SGC 9 to a PSA 10 or whatever it is, and that is for me, and anyone that watches my channel, I'm fairly risk adverse when it comes to buying cards in general. I've never spent more than $1,500 on one particular card. For me, that's a lot of money to spend on a sports card. For a lot of people, that is a drop in the bucket.
That's quite a rack you're wearing. Perhaps I could get you some fluffy new slippers made from the heads of innocent and defenseless baby seals.
Who is this ghastly man?
Ace Ventura, pet detective. And you must be the Monopoly guy.
But this story is important because it shows you the risk of trying to cross over. A lot of people, they see dollar signs. And I'm not saying this is what the owner of this particular card did, but, they look at a BGS 9, they feel like it's got good centering. So maybe, there's things that maybe PSA would be a little bit more lenient on. I'm just using this as an example. So they go to cross to PSA. And then what if it comes back as this is a 1 and it's not a 10, it's a 1. And then you go back to BGS. He got a BGS 9 again. What if he got a BGS 8 or, a 7 or something? So cracking and resubmitting it's a really, really risky game, in my opinion. Maybe it's not. Maybe the people that do this all the time are like, it's not that risky. I get good results from this, but I just don't have the guts. I don't have the guts to actually crack a card out of a case, especially an expensive one. I actually just bought a card today that could actually be a crack to resubmit candidate, and I'll throw it up on the screen. It is a 2008 Topps Chrome Gold Drew Brees card, okay? And it's numbered to 199, I believe. So, I'm a Drew Brees fan. I'm a huge New Orleans Saints fan. So this is my PC guy. This has a CSG grade of 4.5. And I think that the person that owns the card that I just bought it from said there's a wrinkle on it or something. There's some sort of an issue. Bottom corner, maybe there's a little crease or wrinkle or whatever, and it knocked it down big time. And maybe if I was to crack and resubmit to PSA, it would be a 2. Maybe it would be a 7. Maybe I go to BGS, it's a 6. Maybe it's a 1 at BGS. The point is that they could all be different, but that to me is a candidate for maybe I crack and resubmit it because it's in an old CSG case, which it's okay. I'm not crazy about it. I'd rather have the new label. But then also CSG known to be a tough grade. So maybe it would actually get a little bit better treatment if it was with another company. But I got the card for less than $50 because it is a CSG 4.5. But to me, it's a great card because it's a numbered gold, Topps Chrome Gold. Saints are black and gold, so it goes perfectly. If you look at a comparison of another great, now granted, I know Tom Brady gets an insane premium, but this same card for Tom Brady, this 2008 Topps Chrome Gold, goes for thousands of dollars recently. I'll put up some of the recent sales. One was a raw copy. So for me, I like the upside, and I just wanted the card, even though it's probably got some issues. Obviously, to get a 4.5 grade, why not? Give it a shot, and maybe that would be a candidate to crack, resubmit it. But I spent less than $50 on the card. This is high stakes stuff. This is high stakes. So I like to bring the attention to this being, risky, number one, but then also card trimming being subjective or objective between companies when grading. Obviously, there's going to be these sorts of instances. It's the same thing that we've talked about that can become an issue with eBay authentication, where you've got, these graded cards are now going to be authenticated by eBay. what happens if this card was purchased, went off to PSA because it's more than $2,000, let's say, and PSA comes back and says, oh, that's a trim card. Maybe they're not looking to regrade it. Maybe they're just looking to authenticate of like, okay, this is it's an authentic card. You know, they're not necessarily they're not going to say that it's trimmed. They're just authenticating as real and it's a real slab. Okay, you know, maybe that's what they're doing, but you can see how this can turn into a kind of a rabbit hole. And so I think that what are the answers to this? And the people that there's a lot of people that don't like the idea of technology involved when it comes to grading. And it shows me that while I do love the fact that there is third-party grading because it serves a major purpose, it's not as if these grading companies don't know what they're doing. They're very, very good at what they do. And for the most part, the product, I believe, is great. You're going to have instances like this. There's going to be outliers where things like this happen, make you question some things. But all in all, grading companies are very, very necessary, in my opinion. What I like, though, is, you know, you've got companies that are starting to take security more seriously. You're starting to see upgrades on the slabs. These grading companies are taking security more into account. They're also looking to try to authenticate better. You know, that's something that's very important because they're putting their name on something. In a lot of cases, they're having to buy back cards. They're having to pay the difference. They don't want to be in the news for making mistakes and not doing right by the customer. So it's putting a huge emphasis on making sure that they get it right. And a big part of that is technology. So it's going to become, I think, less and less about like, how can I just weasel my way into a PSA 10 and more about accuracy on not even just the grade, but the authenticity. Authenticity. It's a tongue twister. Tongue-tied. Anyway, doesn't matter. So what do you all think about this particular practice, cracking cards, resubmitting them to other grading companies? You know, there's some people that are all about it. Some people it makes sense. And there's other people that can't stand this practice and they don't want to see it. For me, I'm kind of indifferent. I think it probably just depends situationally. I know that it does kind of mess up pop reports, you know, and I think that's something that people are I know the grading companies trying to figure that out, you know, to make sure that if they're seeing the same card 10 times, they know that and they're able to kind of adjust accordingly because a lot of people are looking at population reports to make buying, selling decisions. It's important for them to be, you know, they might not be 100% right, but they need to be kind of right. They need to be pretty right, you know, mostly right. And so these are all things that I see as constant improvements that can happen. You know, when we look at the hobby, big money's coming in. What would stop more big money from coming in? Lack of consistency, lack of uniformity, lack of all this stuff. And so these are the important topics. And the one thing I like is these companies are moving in the right direction. And I like to see that continue. So we will keep on talking about it. Guys, thank you very much for joining me here today for another video. Stay healthy, stay awesome, and I will talk to you again later.